Welcome to another episode of the Carry Trainer Higher Line podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Higher Line podcast. I reached out to a Canadian, and we've got world champion arm wrestler. Now, I looked all over to find out how to pronounce your name correctly. Is it Larratt or Larratt?
The first way is perfect.
Larratt. Yeah. Okay, that's what I thought. So, Devon Larratt, world champion arm wrestler. If you Google this guy, you're going to see tons of videos where he verbally abuses and insults other people before physically humiliating them on camera. I think it's like his
terrible, right? It's like I get to reveal the ugly parts of myself in front of the camera and the whole world.
I don't think it's ugly. I made a list of talking points, and some of them are kind of funny. One of the words I wrote down was mullet.
Mullet, yeah.
There's a picture of you with like mullet down to your nips.
Yeah, I rocked that against the Russian juggernaut, Denis Saplankov. It's kind of a funny story behind why I decided to go with a mullet.
Was it real?
No,
okay.
I wish it was, but we came up with the idea a little bit too late. So we're like, okay, I can't grow it in that amount of time. So we just, my friend, girl at the time, she just hooked me up.
Did like a little weave thing?
Yeah, there were extensions. Yeah, I had like it was real hair, but it was all tied in, and
some homeless guy got a free meal out of donating his locks.
I don't know how people do it. See, I normally, the way my hair kind of styles go is my hair grows to the point where my lack of hygiene makes it unacceptable, and I just shave it all off.
It looks pretty good right now. I see a little style of some kind going on.
This is just the way it grows out. Believe it or not, I woke up like this.
You just let it go. I got it. What gets a guy into arm wrestling? I want to talk about all kinds of stuff. But I found you. I think I watched a video last year where you were testing, because I'm big into grip because of what I do, and I think I found a video where you were with Juji testing grip strength.
Yeah. Actually, grip and arm wrestling are very closely tied together. I'd say that arm wrestling is really a miniature martial art where you're fighting primarily with just the hand. And so all things hand are super important. Obviously, grip is a big part of that. We got like a few fundamentals that we fight with, cupping, wrist flexion, pronation, rising, grip, whatever. Any way the hand moves, we think of it as a weapon, right? So it's good to be strong in your hand, that's for sure.
So what got you into it? What makes a guy one day say, I'm gonna spend years traveling the globe testing my shoulder and elbow joints against strangers?
Yeah, well, like anything, I mean, you don't just normally dive into the deep end. I started off with just me being one of those kids that, like when their uncle comes over, he's like biting at his knee and wanting to fight him all the time, and, just being a real physical kid. I think my life's ambition was to break sticks and throw rocks as far as one of those kids, right?
I dig it.
Yeah, and so being like that, you need outlets. You really do. My grandmother was an arm wrestler.
No way.
Yeah, so even when I was like 5 years old, 6 years old, she'd come over. She'd be like, Devon, go get me some apples, or Devon, go pick me some carrots, whatever. She'd like send me to do any kind of chore. And then my reward was always that I got to arm wrestle with her for a few sets. And I just loved the feeling as a kid, me being able to just go full out at anything and not get in trouble for it. I was like, It was amazing.
Yeah.
So I like the feeling of it, even from youth. But like my whole life, I've loved fighting. I've loved all things fighting. I love the feeling that being in that kind of environment gives me. And arm wrestling's really safe, right? Like you're not going to get head trauma. You're not going to get killed. You're not going to break your back. So it's something that fits in really well into a lot of people's lives. I kind of made the full switch when I was around 18, and I realized, oh my God, this is really for me. I was working in the oil field out Western Canada, and a big company, and tons of dudes between like 19 and 25, all of us kind of knuckleheads. So there was lots of arm wrestling going on.
Yeah.
And it just so happened that one of the guys in the company was really, really good. Like he was a pro. Like he traveled the world arm wrestling, and I had no idea this was a thing. I had no idea that. I thought it was, at that point, I was one of the uneducated, and I was like, oh my God, people actually do this as a sport.
Sure.
Yeah, so I followed this dude around like a puppy dog. Eventually, our relationship kind of moved so that I was like his punching bag, getting him ready for a big event. And in the process, he kind of taught me like the beginning real arm wrestling technique, like the stuff that you don't just kind of pick up by yourself. It's not really instinctive.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, so he kind of got me on the path. I was 18, and I've been hooked ever since.
It's a pretty interesting thing. I grew up in the trades, and it was either you like got drunk and it went to blows, or you got drunk and all the dudes would start arm wrestling. And it is, like you said, it's a safe outlet. I had some neighbors, Hispanics, as a young man, the first house I owned, and I loved hanging out with these dudes. Women would grill all kinds of amazing food. The guys would tell stories of riding bulls. Then they'd all start arm wrestling. They'd get completely liquored, and I was probably 10, 15 years younger and stronger than most of them, and we'd hang out there. And then if you beat the wrong guy too many times, then it went to blows. It was always like, that was like you said, a safe way to, like, not just vent, but test your mettle against another man.
Yeah. I'm a big lover of arm wrestling. I'm a big lover of the community of arm wrestling. I like what the sport has kind of given me. It's a really interesting way to kind of learn how to understand your body and develop. A lot of fun.
I like the way you talked about it as a martial art. It's not just. A gentleman used to pal around with us as kids. Now I haven't seen him in years, but he dabbled in competitive arm wrestling, and he wasn't that big. And there was like another guy we knew that was like pretty serious weightlifter, and this younger guy and smaller guy would consistently beat the stronger guy, and like the bigger dude just couldn't figure out, like, I can lift twice as much as you. Why can't I? Why can't I stand back and watch him linking his whole body together from foot to arm, and he couldn't beat every muscle, and the other guy just stood there trying to just use his shoulder and torso and hand, and it's very interesting to watch that. Yeah, and then you watch like you or other guys at your level, and it's a completely different animal than dudes arm wrestling over a kitchen table.
I always say that it's neat. Like, arm wrestling is just a reflection of everything else. I mean, the truth that you find in arm wrestling is the truth that you find in everything.
Give me an example of what you mean.
So I feel that any person, and I mean, we have our biases and what we think arm wrestling is, like from an uneducated point of view. Like if you were to just walk into a bar and you were to pick two people, you'd very quickly look at them, see which one was bigger, maybe which one had bigger hands, which one looked healthier, and you just assume that guy would win.
Okay.
But really, I mean, if somebody's uneducated, really, education is the most important thing, right? Like, I always say, if you take basically any healthy adult male, and I'm talking like you can take a dude 145, 150 pounds, and if they really dedicate themselves for like 4 or 5 years, they'll beat any healthy male that is uneducated. I don't
Kind of
care
like
what
jiu-jitsu.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Like anything.
You're right. Like anything. Yeah, you're right.
You know, I don't care how smart you are. You can be the smartest dude in the world. You know, you get a person who's studied a field for 4 or 5 years consistently. They're gonna destroy a super smart person in their field, right?
Yeah. That doesn't have any mechanical skills or know-how built in. I'm tracking.
Right.
I'm tracking. Yeah, you're using it's an optic into the world for you. Now, 140-pound guy, you're a big fucker. You're 6'5", 275, something like that.
Yeah, my weight fluctuates a little bit, but 255, 260 is kind of normal.
Okay.
And then I'm taller. Yeah.
Chris Missile, pack a few pounds on maybe.
It's great. The biggest change for me has been retirement or semi-retirement. That's the thing that really got me. I'm like, oh my God, I didn't realize I was burning all these calories. Yeah.
Let's talk about that a little bit. So you retired from the Canadian Special Forces, right?
Yeah.
How many years did you do?
Yeah, so I did 20 years, a little bit on the front, a little bit on the back with reserve time. Yeah, loved it. I mean, big chunk of my life. Loved it. Loved the service. Yeah.
Not sure what or how much of that you want to talk about, but you deployed all over the Mideast during the global war on terror, right?
Yeah, that's the bulk of where I spent my career was Afghanistan.
Okay.
Yeah, I was there a bunch. Beautiful country. It was quite a trip. Definitely gave me a whole lot of experience in life that I can kind of draw from and see the world from a different perspective.
Yeah, I dig that. I've got a lot of friends that served. One of our good buddies, Aaron Cooper, I talk about him often. He's one of the founders of the Army Combatives Program, a Ranger, and he's traveled the world with the military and without into a lot of like undeveloped places. And he's always telling people it helps him appreciate all the wonderful things we have here in North America. I can't say the U.S. because you're not in it, but yeah. I was watching one of the videos you did with Juji. You guys it was kind of a goofy premise. Do arm wrestlers work their legs, right? And I was laughing because clearly you were joking. You show up, you're barefoot, you got t-shirt on, and one of the guys is smoking a cig, pretending to be smoking a cig, one of your fellow arm wrestlers. And I'm sure a lot of the people that watch you don't know that you came from the upper echelons of special operations. And it's like, all right, clearly this dude knows how to fucking squat weights and ruck and run, but you hammed it up for the video.
And so, but the truth is I don't have really great legs. I used to do. Obviously, legs are like one of the most important things about being a full combative, being. If you don't have legs are basically legs and lungs, man. Yeah. Legs, lungs, and reaction time. Yeah. You got that, you're a pretty dangerous person. And maybe the ability to carry some toys around.
Sure.
Yeah.
But there's no way that you spent 20 years in special operations and did not have a halfway decent set of legs underneath you. Yeah, maybe you weren't going to be a quad model, but.
No, I was no quad model. I think in terms of fitness, it's interesting. Like military fitness is a really interesting thing. And I watch you and you do really great stuff. Like when it comes to like functional military training, I've just taken a brief look at you, but right away I was like, oh my God, you are totally on the right track. Like if you want to be a super killer, your workouts are awesome.
Yeah, I'm not into like destroying myself anymore. Like I got a bar out there I deadlift. It's 185 pounds or something. Like I don't need to lift any more weight than that.
No,
You
no,
know?
you don't need to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate that you watched any of that stuff.
Yeah. Balancing on that slack rope with off balance weights, and yeah, that's what it's about, right? That's the stuff that really makes a difference.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. It seems like there's been a big push the last, I don't know, 5, 10, 15 years. I've got various friends from various units that they're hiring strength and conditioning coaches from professional football, basketball, college level teams. They're hiring guys that are specialists in getting the body tuned up without destroying it. A couple friends of mine from a special mission unit were like some of the pioneers of the big kettlebell exercise stuff, where that's all they deploy with is kettlebells because they couldn't have the Olympic gym, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, it's cool when you see like the evolution of military fitness. And when I remember like as a young soldier, so that was like in the mid to late 90s, you know, what the gyms looked like back then, how most of the guys trained back then, and how people train now. I mean, we've brought in so many experts, and there's so many like professionals that have been brought into the service to, you know, make the guys train smarter, more functional. It's kind of neat to see, you know.
That makes good sense when, just like professional sports, the amount of money and time invested to create the soldier or whatever branch they're in, and then to trash them and have to start all over from scratch. That's pretty cost and time intensive for a government, for a military unit. What do you do to keep your arms from not being trashed? We talked about this a little bit on the phone. What do you do to keep? I'm sure you got tendonitis and arthritis and all kinds of crap.
Yeah.
You wake up in the middle of the night like this?
Yeah. I've had a couple surgeries. I've had a few surgeries actually, because I've made so many mistakes. I've done so many things wrong. I've pushed way too hard. And by me saying this as in it's the past tense, I'm trying to fool everybody and myself. I continue to make mistakes because I'm very eager, and I know that we're all on a timeline. Okay, but your body can only do so much, unfortunately. So patience is really important. But the struggle that is interesting when you talk about like tendon issues, arthritis is kind of separate. Arthritis is more like you've made these mistakes over and over and over, and now your body's rewarding you with arthritis. Tendonitis is a more it's more short term. Like but that you have to deal with tendonitis, I believe, by understanding circulation. And just understanding the difference in the circulation of fluids through really dense tissues like tendons versus musculature and whatever else. Like your heart for the most part is able to feed, circulate fluids through muscle tissue, no problem. So even just rest is normally adequate to heal this tissue. But tendons and ligaments are completely different. When you get like tendon, even I'll say like even tissues within the joints that become inflamed, movement is critical. Like you have to continue to move. They've done this. I don't know what you want to call it, but they've looked inside the body with really powerful microscopes, and they've seen the way that the sheaths move and how the fluids get pushed. It's completely to do with movement when it comes to tendons. So if you're not moving, your tendons aren't doing fluid exchange. And fluid exchange, right, it's vital to the healing process. Yeah. So
I
whenever you
agree.
get, yeah. So it's really all about movement. So, and then you have to walk this fine line because you want to be strong, right? Like strength, from a combative point of view is probably more valuable than endurance from an arm wrestling perspective. So whenever you do too much movement, your body starts to think that you might be becoming an endurance athlete, and it starts to slow down. It's twitch, which you don't want. But so developing your strength has to be balanced with managing and keeping your tendons healthy.
Okay. Makes
Yeah,
good sense. Yeah, I've been
yeah,
nursing a bum shoulder the last couple months, and I always feel better. I do yoga and
yeah,
uh, take a week, do nothing, sit on the couch like a bum versus take that
yeah,
week and do light exercises and stretching and things of that nature, and you feel like
yeah,
$1,000,000 different. Yeah, I agree. So do
yeah.
you do anything like that? Do you do Tai Chi, yoga,
Uh,
anything?
I have, and I love all that stuff, but I,
To
I'm
be
like,
honest, I just do wrist curls.
so stupid. I'm so invested. I'm like so focused. I just refuse to let go of this dream of just being able to crush people.
Now, like it's not really a dream because you've done it for years. How many championships have you won?
Well, so I was probably considered to be pretty much the best in Canada since sometime around the turn of the millennia. Probably even my critics, harshest critics, would say probably by 2003 or so,
Okay.
I was the best in Canada. And I I started to climb the international ranks 2008. I would probably, by just about everybody, be recognized as the #1 right-handed arm wrestler in the world in the open division. 2013, I accomplished the same thing in the left hand. So for this like modern time period, I'm the first guy to hold the right and the left open weight #1 spot with both hands. So that
I
was
thought
kind of
I
my
was going to say I thought I saw you wrestle with both hands.
yeah. Since then, I've had a couple surgeries. I went down to the 225-pound division where I've been doing really well, and just like in the last couple years, so 2017. We had some issues with the league, the big league here in North America. It had a little hiccup,
Okay.
and at that point I was like, oh, my shallow end of the 225-pound division has been taken away from me. I once again have to try and get relevant in the open weight, that's the real ultimate crown. Like, I mean, when you
So
talk about,
is it like above the 225? It's open.
and that's really like when you talk about any fight sport, like you have the best in the divisions, but really what's really important is who's the best.
Yeah.
So 225 is a spot where they draw, depending on the organization, 225, 242, 231.
Okay.
But yeah, you get a lot of guys around this weight. So like a lot of really good guys are around, they can make 225, they can make 231. But then they're like, I'm going for it. And they're like 250, 270, and they're going for the world title.
I see.
So I haven't gotten it back yet. Okay, so right now I'm sitting, probably anybody would say I'm somewhere in the top 10 with both hands. I think that right now on the world ranking list, I think they have me 3 or 4
Okay.
with both arms. Yeah, it's a different world now, I'll tell you.
Why is
Arm
that?
wrestling. Oh, man. Well, I'd say that the quick answer is money,
Oh,
exposure. Our sport, arm wrestling is like probably the oldest sport in the world. Ever since people have been shaking hands, they've been arm wrestling. But that doesn't mean that we're big. We're an underground sport that occasionally kind of pops. And we're in a little bit of a hot spot right now for us. We got a lot of people investing a lot in the sport. Prize money's changed, exposures changed, sponsorships changed. So you got a lot more people being willing to invest more of their lives, more effort. Yeah, so bigger.
Okay.
Bigger, faster, stronger.
I see that some of the events are not just like a back room of a bar. They're like stadium kind of situations, lights, cameras, the whole shebang. Yeah. So just that draw, hey, if I can actually make some money, I'll invest more energy in this, learn how to do it better, travel. Yeah. What kind of sponsors? Who sponsors an arm wrestling event?
Well, I'd say that there's a few, depends on where you live. If you live in the right part of the world, like if you're like on that Eastern European, anything that ends in Stan, they really love their sports over there. And a lot of those countries, the government recognizes them. Yeah. So, I mean, if you're in Azerbaijan or Kazakhstan or Bulgaria or something, and if you're good, you're going to be compensated by the government the same way maybe, I don't know, our like good track athletes are taken care of.
I see. That's interesting.
Probably actually even better, because whereas a lot of our, like in North America, I would typically say most of our best athletes become professionals, whether they're playing football or hockey or whatever. Sure. I think more so in these countries, a lot of their best athletes become Olympians.
I see.
And that's kind of the same thread that arm wrestling falls into in some parts of the world. In North America and places where they don't have that deal, you got to get pretty good. You have to somehow be crazy enough to somehow fall in love with something about the sport deep enough so that you get to that level. And then once you get to that level, anybody will pick you up. I've had sponsorships that include like electric companies, phone companies, kind of you name it.
Trying to get just to have their name on your T-shirt or whatever during the matches.
Yeah.
Cool.
But it's growing still. I think we're in a really good time for our sport. Like, it's a great time. Great time to be an arm wrestler, really.
You mentioned a minute ago, we're all on a timeline. What'd you go deeper into that? Or is that too dark for a morning chat?
Well, I mean, you never know when you're going to die, for one.
That's true.
You know, so that affects our patience, right? Like if I knew I was going to live 1,000 years, I wouldn't work out the way I do. I'd be way safer. I'd take way less risks. But I mean, I think as a dude in North America, you're like, okay, I don't know, maybe I'll hit 80. Maybe I don't know, maybe I'll hit 100.
Right.
Maybe at 55 I'm gonna get cancer. Once you don't know exactly, but you do know that most people have a lifespan that's not that long, so you're gonna be in a bit of a rush, and that's why I say I'm a bit eager. I push probably a little bit harder than I should. Yeah.
So just that knowledge creates a bit of a sense of urgency in reaching and attaining.
It does. Yeah. Arm wrestling's really good in a sense that you can be really good at arm wrestling and age. Like, you age very well in the sport of arm wrestling. I'd say most of our best guys a lot of the best guys are in their 40s.
I can see that happening. I've got some friends that I grew up with that tradesmen, excuse me. One of them named Mike, he's a bricklayer. He's pushing 60. And he was a wrestler in high school, so he has that compact wrestler's body, but on the heavy side, like 200 probably in high school. And in his late 50s now, that man can crush dudes. Arm wrestling, wrestling. I watched him double leg a young dude once just screwing around on a job site. And it's not, of course, he couldn't get on a mat with a 19-year-old and wrestle around for an hour without breaking a hip or something. But stuff like that, he'll pick shit up that dude's half his age look at him like, how are you holding that? His muscles are so conditioned in his joints. Yeah.
And I think the hand especially, like the hand even more so than the rest of the body, because there's so much sinew, right? It takes so long to develop all this connective structure, and once you got it, it sticks.
I agree. Yeah.
We have a really funny example that I always like to use. We got this guy in arm wrestling. He's called Crazy George.
Crazy George.
I think he's 71 now. And I'll tell you, now at this point, it is starting to affect him. It is. But I'd say like a year or two ago, so like maybe like when he was like 69, I would have considered him to be the world champion in his weight division.
Wow.
Yeah. Wow. Which is crazy when you think a 69-year-old dude is in the conversation for the best fighter in some kind of a sport.
What was his career outside of arm wrestling? What did he do?
The factory worker.
Okay. Yeah. Something where he was working the hands though.
A little bit, yeah, but I don't think that it – I'll tell you, I had this discussion all the time with a good buddy of mine, John. I always tease him about how you get strong doing manual labor. And while that is true to a degree, and more so when you're young, I think that a lot of like repetitive work style jobs, be it construction or farming, I think that they do make you strong, but in the long run, if you want to talk about health, it gets tough, man. It gets tough when you're working.
I agree with that. Yeah, all the old carpenters I know, they have a hunch. And if you can be smart, though, you definitely have to be mindful of trying to move in different ways. And I like just to talk about what we do for a second, the firearm training. I find by and large dudes that work with their hands have a much easier time, not just mechanically manipulating the tools, but just holding on to them. And you know, somebody like not to say a woman is less than, but they're born with less physical strength than a man. Even like a dude that sits at a desk all day typing and doesn't do push-ups on his fingertips or doesn't hang from a chin-up bar or hold a hammer or a shovel. Those guys are like, how are you holding it like that? I joke. I tell them they have vaginal hand syndrome. And they have to, their vagina hands. That was basically it. Yeah. But you go ahead.
I totally agree with you. But I'll ask you now, the guys who are the very best shooters in the world, are they working with their hands?
Well, some of them have extremely strong grips. They have crazy grip strength, but they've developed it just from crushing a gun in training. Like there's a guy named Bob Vogel. Bob's not that big. World champion. He was a police officer, but if you look at his arms, look like from here to here, look like one of you guys, veiny and sinewy and just because of years of him just crushing pistols with his hands. You shake his hand and you feel like you're shaking a grizzly bear's hand.
Right.
That I've noticed. Not just any old shooters, but guys that are at that level that they're just so many years of manipulating, and it's a constant grip on a pistol when you're shooting. You're crushed down on it. Sure. So their hands just get conditioned
for that.
Yeah. Kind of a shitty thing to be good at it outside of that.
But a lot of times when you talk about extreme performance in a very specialized field, it's almost like you have to only do that one thing, right?
Yeah. That's true. That's true. So you did the military service. You did the arm wrestling. Do the arm wrestling. You play guitar. I see a couple behind you. Are those yours or those your wife's? Your boys?
No, my kids.
Okay.
My kids play. Yeah.
Okay.
I used to. No, man.
Warrior poet sitting there like cross-legged singing hippie songs.
No. I love all that stuff. I think it's cool, but no. I'm much simpler. So much of my life is I'm very specialized. I am an example of a very, very specialized person. Yeah. When I go to sleep, I think about one thing. When I wake up, I think about one thing. When I know that I'm on track, when I'm thinking about very few things except for my one goal.
Have you always been that way?
I'm very, very goal focused. I'm a type of person, we're all guided by our brain chemistry, right? And if I don't have a very, very strong goal, like something that I can really believe in and get behind, I'll really lose my marbles really quickly. Like I will, like a goalless me is not a fun guy to be around at all. I find that it's very important for me to identify something to be moving towards or being a part of that I can really fully invest in, and not kind of have too many distractions once I get that clear target.
So that's on you. You remove the distractions is what I'm gathering. Once you decide that's my goal, you kind of let the other stuff drift off out of the frontal vision.
The way that I feel happiness in my life is the accomplishment of these goals that I set for myself.
Okay.
So yeah, that's really what I'm after, man.
That's some good self-awareness, bro. I like that. That's one of the reasons I figured we'd have a good chat. Anybody that usually achieves anything noteworthy has some level of self-awareness. How many guys, that you run into, and I don't mean at your level, but guys you run into on the street that, hey, tell me some shit about arm wrestling. If you start talking about what you just did about finding inner happiness through the achievement of goals, they'd be like, what are you talking about?
Yeah. But that's really, if you really want to go deep, that's what you're going to have to get that, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Has it caused problems at all in life? Your wife's been with you since you were kids, so she must know how you are.
Yeah, I'm shocked that people stick around for the ride, honestly. Like, but I don't really hide stuff. So Jody's known me since I was in high school, and I haven't really changed that much. I've certainly done a lot of things and matured, but yeah, she's been along for the whole ride. I will let everything in my life fall apart. I will, and I won't even care. That's the thing that makes me hard to live with. Like,
sorry, man.
Like, if it doesn't have to do with me getting that one thing done that I'm after, it doesn't really affect me. So that makes me a bit hard to deal with because I don't have the priorities of having a balanced life. Just doesn't matter to me.
It's not white. You're not wired that way.
Not even a bit.
Balance is sometimes a fallacy too. You have people, pardon me, you have people talk about that you need balance, but then you look at those people and they might have good lives in the sense of what they deem to be a good or happy life. But like you said, to you, it's like, man, that's boring as I've got family members that ask, not that what we do is similar, but I'm constantly pushing towards goals, and people say, don't you want to be home and doing this or doing that? No, that's what you want to do. Why would I want to do that? Not that that's wrong, but you know what I'm saying?
Balance is a very interesting concept.
Yeah.
I find, an interesting thing about balance was kind of revealed to me through learning about CrossFit. Do you do CrossFit?
I make fun of CrossFit, but
yeah, me too. Me too. Hey, but I make fun of it, but I love it too. I as much as I make fun of it, I respect CrossFit.
Of course I do. A lot of the stuff I do is CrossFit-esque, but I just don't do the church portion of it, where you got like a group of people and they put their shit on the marker board. I'm down here by myself usually with some 80s rock playing on the record player.
It's just interesting for me because I've dipped so far into becoming unbalanced. So, I mean, I remember growing up, when you talk about fitness, I mean, balance is a big part of what's preached to people, right?
Yeah.
Like, people always talk about balance, muscle balance, upper body, lower body, balance. It's health.
Good nutrition,
right?
good sleep.
Balance. And CrossFit really preaches balance. As an athlete, I was already starting to deviate quite far away from balance when I kind of intersected with CrossFit. I met CrossFit, I think it was like 2004 or 5.
Okay.
At which point I was already quite off balance in terms that I was quite focused on soldiering and quite focused on arm wrestling. So the way I trained was not really balanced. It was too, and this is kind of where I'm going with this. Balance, you only need balance. You only need to protect yourself against what's being thrown at you.
Yeah.
Right? Like I don't need anything that I'm not gonna have to deal with.
Yeah.
So I was becoming specialized for my environment. And then I found CrossFit again, and I'm like, oh yeah, okay, let's get balanced. And then I started to go, and then I absorbed it, digested it, and then I started to reject it. And I started to realize that you only need to be able to deal with what life's going to throw at you. That's it.
How do you know though? How do you know what's coming?
Yeah. Well,
everything's a risk. I don't have to run from T-Rexes. They don't live anymore, so I can cross that off my list.
Yeah. Look at everything's a gamble, right? You don't know exactly what's going to happen tomorrow, but you can take risks. And I've taken the risk with my body of going way deep into arm wrestling. And it's very interesting to me. When I started to train like this, my injury level went down significantly. Like, I walk around my whole life basically injured, like, except for when I compete.
Sure.
When I compete, I'm perfect. But most days, either my back is screwed up or my shoulder or something.
I'm with you, bro.
Yeah, but since I got into this really specialized level of training where I'm really only kind of strengthening the areas where I know I'm going to be under high degrees of stress in, I'm way better to deal with my environment. So, I mean, balance really, you just really have to be able to deal with what life's going to throw at you. And if you can predict that, then you're good.
Part of what I'm hearing as I'm listening to you is, even like in the recovery phase, your body's not needing to do this whole body recovery of all these joints and muscles that you've trashed and fatigued. And I'm sure the listeners understand you're not suggesting, you're not doing the Sylvester Stallone driving down the freeway just working the one arm routine. I'm sure you do other things, but you've specialized training regime to help you be good at what you want to be good at. That's what you're saying?
Yeah. I realized that I was a greenhouse plant. I don't live in the outside world anymore.
That's a good way of looking at it. Yeah, sure, man.
And those greenhouse tomatoes grow big, man. If you let it, if the plant knows that it doesn't have to get a thick stalk to protect itself from the wind and the rain,
yeah,
you can become very good at what you do.
And so what's the flip side of that for somebody like in your sport? Would it be like heavy powerlifting? What's the flip side?
The flip side, you mean like what's the worst thing that could happen to me?
No, I mean like, so instead of this specialized training that you're talking about where you're not worried about being able to run a wheelbarrow up a side of a mountain full of sandbags, right? Because that is what you're saying. You're not investing your physical resources in doing that shit.
Right. Yeah. Well, it's very much about accuracy. It's really about being accurate. It's about identifying what you're going to be asked to do and to try and hit that as closely, as safely, as sustainably as possible. Yeah, it's very simple.
Dude, our course curriculum focuses around a very simple concept, and I tell everybody this: identify where you want to go, what it looks like, what it tastes like, what it feels like. You can see it in your mind's eye, and then we're going to create some actionable steps to get there. And then in a day or a week or a month or an hour, we may have to readjust those, because as you move forward, you may get a different viewpoint of what you thought you needed to do. I think that's exactly what you're saying.
That's it.
Yeah.
And after, 25 plus years of readjusting my viewpoint, there's things that I've found that are extremely consistent. Like, I always kind of wave around the periphery of what arm wrestling is, but there's a few things that are really, really core, vital to what we do, right? Like, I think I said it before, but just your ability to do this. Just your now when you think, like, when you do that, what effect does it have on me? It turns me over. Like, if you cup in, it turns me over.
Okay.
So these two strengths, so cupping and what we call pronation. I spend probably 75% of my physical energy, maybe 80, on just those two movements.
That's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
And there's other stuff, like, it's not quite that simple. There's keeping your hand high up. There's your grip. There's supinating, but they're transitioning strengths. They're not the tip of the spear. The tip of the spear is bend your wrist in and don't get turned over. Do that super hard, you're in control of everything. And then it's just, understanding how to move, understanding, like, the laws of fighting, and getting in that OODA loop, and yeah, having fun with it, right? Making sure that you still have fun with it.
That I think is a thing a lot of folks forget in any endeavor. They get so wrapped around the winning or the chasing of the goal, whatever it might be, career, college education. You're not having fun. Well, what's the freaking point? Because you're going to die anyway, like we already said. Yeah. Well, when you're doing that, having fun, you're also getting in people's heads a little bit too.
Yeah. Oh, that's like my new favorite thing. It's really interesting to me. You talk about combat, like the physical strength is a big part of it, but the psychology and the showmanship, and there's more. You can always make things bigger, right? Like, a fight can grow. And what I realize a lot about the fight is the fight starts long before the hands come together and the referee says go. I mean, you're starting to do things sometimes months in advance, just to kind of lay psychological groundwork with an opponent. And I'm learning at the same time. Okay, there's not a lot of manuals for this stuff out there, but what I found,
you should write one.
We're working on it. We're working on it.
Good.
Yeah, but what I've found is people need exhausts in their life. And I think I've stumbled across a lot of this stuff lately just because of my lack of exhaust. Like, I don't go to war anymore. I don't go into combat, which really for me was an unrivaled level of adrenal,
Sure.
adrenal rush. And I think that left me really kind of missing it. So I've had to kind of try and recreate it in my sport. And the way that I try and recreate it is I try and make the conflict, the fight, really real. Okay. The truth is, with all these people that I arm wrestle, is I basically love all of them. I think that they're all fantastic people. I get along really well with them. But if I know that I have a potential match with somebody, I now, and this is a really new step in my development, is I will really legitimately try to go to war in my mind with them. I will try to make it as real as possible to a life and death combat, where I'll put things out that I have real attachment to, so that winning and losing to me becomes much more important than just a simple arm wrestling match.
You're using some deep visualization, and you're doing programming of your brain, is what you're telling us. You're programming your subconscious long before this match.
It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
It's a ton of fun. When things are, I just know what feels good. And I know that really nothing felt as good as, surviving a hit. You go and you do a successful hit in the military, and you come back and you're alive, and it's like, wow, that was amazing. You risked your life and you came back and you were successful. It's tough to replicate. So what I try and do is I try and stack stuff so it's the match becomes bigger and more meaningful, and obviously I'm never going to die on an arm wrestling table, but I want to try and stack stuff so that it becomes meaningful to a point where my investment level becomes more,
so that when you win, all of that investment pays off. You get the payout. What do? Do you go sit in a quiet spot and close your eyes? Do you do this throughout the day as you're going about your routines? Is it something you even want to talk about?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's kind of a lot of stuff I just kind of figure out as I go, okay? I'm very much not locked into anything. I do have some things that are patterns, and I do have some real general guidelines, but if I think something's a good idea, I'll run with it, just, right there.
I'm kind of like that too, and then if it doesn't work out, readjust, right. Pivot, and keep going. Yeah.
For the most part, what I do in my initial part of, I guess, my planning is I try and become scared. I think that this is a very vital step in laying down the motivation. I try and elevate my opponent. I try and build them up to a point where I start to doubt myself. And this is the line which I have to be careful of.
You come up with all this on your own?
My memory is very much like a river. Once it's kind of happened, it's in there somewhere. I don't think I have that many original thoughts. I've been around a lot of great people, so it's probably been told to me, and I don't remember. But
I read a lot, and I've never heard what you're describing. So keep going.
Okay. Well, I find that fear is a great motivator. When you're unsure, especially for somebody who really prides themselves on being courageous, right? Like if you're a courageous person, or you like to think that you are, when you start to become afraid of something, it's very powerful. So I like to play with that line. I like to build up my opponents in my mind, so that I become a little bit fearful. And
So imagine you and I were opponents, just so I'm fully grasping, and the listener, you and I are opponents. I would be
Okay,
scared,
so
me too. If I was you, I would be very scared. But so like, are
Right.
you like, do you sit there? Do you picture my face? Do you picture us arm wrestling? Do you picture yourself losing? Do you picture yourself walking up to the table and feeling fear wash over you? Like what?
Well, I'm a big, I love tools.
Okay.
And modern technology is amazing. We got this thing called YouTube, and there's so much information out there.
Sure.
So visualization, a lot of times, can be really easily facilitated by just stuff that's happened in the past. I want to research you. We've never met. There's tons out there on you, and I could sift through all your stuff. I could watch how fast you move. I could watch how quickly you think. Just by watching, I can watch how quick you are able to process. I could see what you've done in the past in competition. I could see your accolades. And this could be inspiring to me, right? I could watch you and I could be like, okay, damn. I'm like, you might have me there. You might have me there. Okay. And this starts to really motivate me, and it starts to shift my life, and it starts to help me clear away everything. I start to realize, okay, I can't play with this guy. I can't go partying. I can't stay up all night playing video games. I have to give this guy the respect that he deserves. Otherwise, he can kill me. So that's really the first step. And then once I kind of am there, then I really get down to business, and I start to try and understand how the person loses. Because while people are constantly evolving and changing and learning, people are who they are, and even champions are a certain way. They're great, but everyone has weaknesses, and people will lose the same ways over and over. There's patterns. So I try and understand these patterns, and I try and build them into my visualization. And towards the end, this is the part that grows. And towards the end, I just try and see them losing. Now, when I visualize, I don't confine myself to, I hear a lot of people say, visualize success, I don't really do that. I just visualize fighting. So
Do you see yourself driving their hand to the table?
I see everything. Okay? I see winning, I see losing, I see everything. I just put myself in that future moment, and I try and see everything that the multiverse has to offer.
I dig it.
But in all those places, I try to keep fighting. Okay? Now, what I do is, so I'm a person who by nature, I think I don't really try to be overly positive or overly negative for the most part. I try and just kind of try and see things the way they are. Now, I do try the last 48 hours. The last 48 hours, I just push all the negativity out, all of it. And the last 48 hours or so, because I find that right now that's about all I can manage. I find that for me to just be 100% positive for longer than that is unsustainable. So the last 2 days or so, I just push everything out, and I only visualize dominance. And then typically I show up, and I've played every scenario that you can play. It's all rehearsed, and I've fought through all of them, and I'm ready to rock.
I dig it. I got a buddy named Jared, gives a speech. He's a gunfighter, and he says, I killed 1,000,000 men, 1,000,000 ways, 1,000,000 times in my head. And people hear him,
Yeah.
they're like, oh, you're a sicko. And he's not like, he's not like jerking off in a closet somewhere fantasizing about murdering people. He's just, you get it. He's envisioned every possible scenario that he could face as in his profession. And at the very least has some plan on how to deal with it. And I've seen this before rather than seeing it for the first time. Pilots do that.
Does who?
I said pilots, they do that a lot.
Oh, yeah.
They'll game a flight like that in their head. That's cool, man. Do you, is this a constant dialogue throughout the day, or I know people that do similar tasks, but they'll go into like from 10 to 11, it's visualization. Is this just something that kind of comes in and out of your consciousness?
I'm very unstructured. I try and fit it in when I can. I'll go through periods where I do more and where I do less. I don't have time allocated for everything. It's very much involved when I am doing my training. When I'm sitting in my gym doing my work, I'm typically thinking about it.
Okay.
I'll go off and I'll just go there from time to time throughout the day. I'll just dream it. The closer the match comes, the more I will shift into that land. I think it's just really important. Anything that you should think about anything you're in love with. Like anything that you're in love with, you should think about a lot. And it's going to help you just have success there, right?
I'm making notes. I dig it.
Yeah.
I ask people this from time to time. If the folks listening never met you, never got a chance to shake your hand, never got a chance to listen to your voice again, but right now, what would you pass on to them from your 40-plus years walking the earth, fighting for the crown?
Well, I think I'd probably tell you that really life is about investing in what you love. And those small investments one day can become something really great. So really what's really important is figuring out what turns you on, figuring out what gives you a happy feeling. Because at the end of the day, you might as well invest in something that you like, something that brings you some kind of a positive emotion. Mm-hmm. You will create that by spending time. Whatever you spend time in, it's an investment. It's an investment. Yeah. So just do what you love. Very simple.
What if what you love is like eating children?
Then eat them up, man. Baby. Go around and eat them.
I think there's nothing that you've said that I don't agree with. It's fun how different people arrive at the same conclusion, but maybe see it, like the room I'm in, if you're on that side or I'm on this side, it's the same room, but we're looking at it from different angles, like we see different bits of the whole. That's cool stuff. I've kind of, as of late, the last few years, adopted this idea similar to what you're talking about of just really chasing the things that you want to, very much so because I'm so acutely aware of the passing of the days, man. Like, if not today and you're waiting for tomorrow, like, why though? Because we're worm food.
I have a question for you, because I had this debate all the time with guys I used to work with. You love shooting, yeah?
I do, but I love some other aspects of it more than the shooting.
Well, I I can tell by how well you shoot that you'll be able to at least definitely be able to take part in this discussion. So, iron sights versus lasers. So, most of the guys. So when you go on course to become a special operator, like spend a lot of time shooting, and you know the carbine is not as difficult to shoot. Pistol's really tough, right?
Sure.
Guys spend typically, I don't remember, probably about two months learning how to shoot. Really intensive, shooting all the time, go through all the different weapon systems. And I have, and most of the guys coming onto these courses, they're good dudes, as in like they're athletic, they're physically skilled and talented, they're smart guys, they can learn. And I always have this argument. Would you rather give a guy like a 6-week shooting package or 8-week shooting package, and then have him move forward for, say, 2 years, just, you know, doing the job, learn how to move, shoot, communicate? Or would you rather give a dude lasers on his guns and then have him move forward? Which one is more powerful?
I'm anti-lasers in this scenario.
Mm.
I want the basis of knowledge, because I think some things that when you shortcut, it's kind of like baking. You can learn to bake by following a recipe, but if you don't and you don't need to fully understand the chemistry that's happening with the flours and the glutens and the oils and the fats to make a good cake. But if you understand that, you're going to be a better baker. You know what I mean?
I do.
So that's kind of the way my brain works. I'd rather you have, in electronics break.
They do.
That's the other thing. Blood and mud and batteries. And I mean, is that kind of what you're talking about?
It's exactly what I'm talking about, but I'm on the other side. I'm a laser lover.
Now, when you say laser, are you talking about like IR indicators with nods? Or are you talking about literally a laser beam, like a laser pointer? Is that what you're talking about? Or are you talking about like red dots? I lost you.
I'm talking about laser, but yeah, once you add nods, it changes it even more, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because you can't with. I was always like, man, like, I don't even need it. Just give me a laser. Just give me my laser, and I'm good, because it changes the way that you operate, I find like once you have lasers, the whole game changes. The way you stand, the way you move.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
Well, I'm assuming at that level, most of those guys know how to shoot when they get to one of those courses. They're already in the regular.
You'd be surprised.
No? Okay.
Oh, guys are good, but no, not.
Yeah, I don't mean they know how to, like, they're not champion shooters, but they understand the fundamentals of marksmanship and shooting. I'm assuming most guys do. There's a lot of special operations guys that can't shoot a pistol for the life of them, and people always expect them to be able to, but who goes to war with a pistol? Nobody. What pistol did your unit use?
226 mostly.
Okay, SIGs. Okay.
I think they might have changed. I've been out for a few years now, and I know that there was discussion. I know they were doing trials on Glocks and stuff, but yeah.
Are you, because of your background as a civilian, are you afforded any different private gun ownership rights as a Canadian?
No, we have to do all the same stuff. If it's funny, right? But you know, you're qualified to use all this stuff, but then when you get out, no, you have to redo. We have you can get like a restricted license, and that gets you pretty much anything.
We've got some crazy laws up there compared to the States.
it's a bit harder to get stuff up here, but I don't think it's that tough. Like you can get most things.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think the point I want to make sure I leave people with, not talking about the humdrum laws of gun ownership, excuse me, is we've covered a lot of stuff. I've been taking notes here. You've got and surprising, I wasn't judging you, but surprising a lot of very self-reflective and self-intuitive points that you've made. It sounds like you spend a lot of time, I don't want to say inside your head, but like working on your programming. And that's cool, man. I think that most people I meet and know that come from your background are that way. Most of them, not all of them. But I bet you most of the public, when they see you with your mullet or your shaved head arm wrestling, they don't understand this side of you, or probably don't even see it. Look at that guy, just, some arm wrestling, meathead. And there's this whole facet of self-awareness here.
Well, I think it's cool that, I can change people's beliefs about, what I am or what I'm not. I think that's fun. If anytime people get on the world stage, I don't care what it is, they've probably spent a lot of time reflecting on themselves and the activities that they've chosen.
I dig it. And you are actually like on the world stage. I know to some people listening, and this is what I'm about to say is not in any way, shape, or form demean you or arm wrestling, but some people don't realize, like you said, it's a sport. Like some people don't realize what I do is something people get paid to do. But like if you Google you, like you said earlier, there's millions and millions and millions of views of your teaching, your arm wrestling matches, you're doing fun stuff with Juji and guys like that, and you're all over the place with various hairstyles.
It's crazy what you can do in this life, isn't it?
Yeah, you were saying that to me on the phone. It's I have a restaurant here locally that sells expensive margaritas, and every time I go in there and the owner says, what's going on, what's new, like how you doing, I say I'm fantastic. I can afford a $14 margarita shooting guns for a living. Life is sweet. Right. Yeah, it is. It's a good thing. Yeah. Parting words, friend. What do you got?
Hey, I love it I love this modern world. I've never met you. You've never met me in real life. I'd love to go shooting with you. I'd love to meet you in real life now that we've had this virtual.
Yeah, man. Likewise. Yeah. It is really cool. I do appreciate that as well. Folks will sometimes say like, it's the internet. And I say, nah, it's not, man. Like it's still humans, just a different medium.
We get down to Chicago quite a lot.
Yeah, man. Hit me up. We've got a guest room.
The World Arm Wrestling League is headquartered in Chicago.
Oh, no shit.
Yeah, there's probably going to be a ton of shows.
Yeah, anytime you're down here, you hook me up, and I'm all over the country. So of course you're not going to spend your free time trying to find out where I'm at. But anytime you're down here, for sure, man.
Yeah, we'll figure it out. Yeah, it was great to talk to you, man.
I appreciate it. You guys, if you haven't seen this guy, even if you don't care about arm wrestling, watch it. The amount of enthusiasm and excitement that he puts into it, it's infectious. And some of the stuff that he talked about here, I think is hugely powerful, be it if you're a mom, a dad, an accountant, a doctor, a paramedic, whatever. It's about becoming a better version of yourself, not changing who you are as a person, but like flushing out the bad shit and building up the good stuff. The stuff you talked about, not to circle back too far, but about causing fear, you literally were, I was listening to that. It's pretty fascinating. You're literally creating like a panic scenario so you can overcome it. That's powerful shit. That's powerful shit. Maybe you get to the point where you can just like push a button in your head and go to the end.
Well, yeah. I think you have to go through the process, man. Like we're very emotional animals, you know,
Yeah.
at the root of what we are, there's instinct and emotion, and thought is like way higher up. Like, if you really want to get going, you got to feel like you can't breathe, you know, like you're going to get motivated. Yeah, you want to feel like it's life or death. If you can get to that point where you realize whatever you're trying to do, it's life or death, you're probably going to do better at whatever you're trying to, or you're going to invest more energy.
I dig it.
Focus.
Yeah. If you guys are not following Devon on Instagram, what's your Instagram account?
Dev Larratt.
Dev, DEVLARRATT.
Yeah.
And then YouTube, you've got a YouTube channel.
Same thing.
Dev Larratt. Very cool. I appreciate you taking the time. You guys out there, if you're not following this channel, please do. If you like these videos, if you like the conversations like this, forward them to your friends, man. Share this stuff. And while we had fun talking, we're doing it because we both care about you guys hearing some of these lessons and stories that his elbow's destroyed so you can learn it. So don't be dickheads and actually, do something with it. This is Mickey with CarryTrainer.com. Dev Larratt, be well. Visit our website, CarryTrainer.com, for information about classes held throughout the U.S., Carry Trainer apparel, and upcoming projects. You can also email us at training@CarryTrainer.com for information about setting up your own private course or speaking engagement. Training@CarryTrainer.com or CarryTrainer.com.